Now, I've been talking a lot about Gear 6, and I've been talking a lot about, on the YouTube channel here in the past, I've been talking a lot about, some of the things that we know at different points in time. It's taken so long for us to hear an announcement of a new Gears of War title, really hear much. I mean, we had a tech demo that came out from the Coalition, but that even feels like that was ages ago. So let's talk about, let's kind of update that resume in terms of what is it that we know so far about Gears 6, Gears of War 6, which is what I believe it should be called. What do we know about it at this point in time? Let's talk about it. So this is a article coming to us from Gen X. Gears of War 6 release date, speculation, news, leaks, story, and more. And this is coming to us, guys, from Shane Musa and Wessel Mini of Gen X. Okay? So ever since the release of Gears 5 back in 2019, fans have gained more and more anticipation for a new entry into the third-person shooter classic. So when will Gears of War 6 be released? I love how they say Gears of War 6 and not Gear 6. I love this. What can we expect to see from it based on leaks, and what new story will this new title be focused on? So here we go. Here's what we're talking about in terms of like speculation and things of that nature. So at the time of the writing, there is no official confirmed release date for Gears of War 6. But in this article, you'll find all information that the developer shared, as well as some speculation from Gen X on when we could see it launch. Gears of War 6, known as Gear 6, hasn't been officially announced by either the developers, that being the Coalition, or the publisher, Xbox Game Studios. But thanks to the release cycle of previous Gears titles, we have some ideas about when we might see it. So obviously, the developers would normally wait 2 to 3 years between releases, and we're now approaching over 3 years at this point in time, guys, because, Gears 5 came out back in 2019. So it definitely looks like it's going to be certainly a longer period of time, between the games here, right? Back in 2021, the Coalition published a new blog post announcing the studio's transition to Unreal Engine 5, because transitioning to a new engine is a significant undertaking. We want to be clear that we will not be announcing any new projects or titles for some time, the studio said. And that was back in 2021. So when they say this, guys, at least what comes to my mind, back in 2021, I was thinking that we would get an announcement this year, like 2023 or so, of Gear 6, of its existence, but we wouldn't see it probably for another couple of years, another year or 2 years. My mindset was, well, maybe they're going to release it in 25, and in 2024 they do a Master Chief collection, or not Marcus Phoenix collection. Master Chief collection, I'm thinking of Halo, obviously, but a Marcus Phoenix collection, or something of that nature, to come out maybe in between, like in 2024, and then 2025. You've built a lot of hype for the new title, Gears of War 6. This could mean that we have to wait a few more years before we see Gear 6. And if we had to guess, a new game is still a few years away. So, I think if all goes well, the Coalition will release Gear 6 in 2024 or 2025. And I think that it's probably relatively safe to say 2024, 2025 makes some sense, at least in my mind. Probably not 2024, though. Probably 2025. They're going to want to make sure that they really build this, anticipation, excitement out. Unless they announced it here in 2023, like the end of the year, like in October or somewhere in that area for 2024, that could be something we may see. I think it's probably more reasonable to expect we'll get an announcement now 2024, maybe at like an Xbox Game Showcase, or maybe fall of 2024, and then it releases fall of 2025. That may be what we're looking at this point. So in terms of leaks, guys, although there aren't any official leaks for Gear 6 at the moment, we do have some speculation about what we can expect. The game will likely stick to the third-person action game and cover shooter mechanics that have made the series famous. However, chances are high that the developers might want to change up the formula slightly and freshen the experience for new and seasoned players. Perhaps Gear 6 might lean more into the open-world RPG mechanics introduced in Gears 5, though perhaps with the tighter focus. And you know what? I really do agree with this. And the reason being is because even though I'm not a massive fan of open worlds, I think that Gears 5 kind of showed us, they teased the open world scenario where, I think one of the awesome things about open world experiences is it brings you back to the experience over and over again. You might beat the campaign one time, but if it's an open world and, it's like the world that is in there is your sandbox and you can do whatever you want between, side missions to, just customization things that you can earn in the campaign that you can later show off in multiplayer. Having all of that there's something to be said for it. So I would love to see a full open world here in Gear 6. My only mindset, though, that, I say that to also say that what concerns me about a full open world is that we still get something similar to Gears 5, where Gears 5 was such a bright game and colorful and the graphics were incredible. And that was something that I loved about Gears 5. But one of the problems I felt, though, was it also hindered it at the same time. It felt not as gritty, not as dark as the original trilogy. And I think that maybe we're going to be getting more of that here in Gear 6. That's what my hope is. And if we're going to go back to that gritty feel, I would prefer actually to have a more linear story where it's not so open world, because I feel that the replay value, or you coming back to the experience over and over again, is going to be within the multiplayer, the horde mode, any other, co-op modes that they create. And so if you're going to go the same route as Gears 5, where, you get semi-open world and you want to go full open world, I would do that. But in my mind, I would love to see them go more, kind of what made the series so great in the first place, that dark, gritty kind of feel. That's what I would personally prefer. But I could totally see them doing this, and that's probably why it's maybe taking them more time to create the title, because they're making it the biggest Gears of War game ever made. So I think that's definitely something that could be reasonable to expect. Although at the end of the day, these ideas are all speculation and don't reflect the actual gameplay experience as it will be released. So for now, we'll simply need to wait until the Coalition releases official information regarding Gear 6. Now, the big question is, of course, for a lot of people also going to be the story of Gears of War 6. What's this going to be? What can we expect here? Well, despite being a sequel to Gears of War 4, Gears 5 took the unusual step of pivoting away from the game's main character. The main story of Gears 4 revolved around JD Phoenix, the son of Marcus Phoenix. However, in Gears 5, the focus shifts to Kate Diaz, a prominent side character from Gears 4, who accompanies JD. At the end of Gears 5, Kate must decide whether to save JD or Del Walker. Reyna, Kate's mother, then kills whoever she doesn't choose to save. Although it's unclear which death is accepted as canon, we do not doubt that Gear 6 will carry on Kate's quest to find her mother, Reyna, the Queen of the Swarm. This is a super interesting talking point in my mind. And you want to know why? Because for a couple of reasons. The first one is I thought that it was a terrible... I did not like that the Coalition went away from JD so quickly. See, no, I have nothing against Kate Diaz. I think Kate Diaz is absolutely awesome. I think she's a great character. But when you have Gears of War 4, we're building, like, they did it right, in my opinion, where they said, okay, we're going to let go of the past with Marcus, and now it's his son that's taking over. And I thought that narrative was amazing. But when they then switched over in Gears 5 to Kate Diaz, not that it's it's terrible to play as her. It's just not only did you start playing as Kate Diaz so quickly from, JD when he was playing the playable character in Gears of War 4, but on top of that, they made JD seem like a douchebag in Gears 5. Like, he just didn't feel even like a main character at all. Like, he felt more definitely a side character, kind of like a Baird style. Like, he's kind of going that direction in terms of his character. And then to top it all off, at the end of the game, you choose between one or the other, JD or Dell, who you're going to kill. It's going to be interesting to see what's canon there. But I personally did not like that. And, with JD, I would have loved to have played as that character a couple more games. Moving over to Kate would be great, in the future. I just don't think it was built there yet. And that's one thing that I had a hard time with that. And the other thing was, what's going to be canon here is the choice that you decide personally on your Xbox console in Gears 5. Is that going to relay over to Gears 6? That would be very interesting to see what they do there in terms of, is JD the one that actually, died, or is it Dell, or are both of them somehow alive? It's going to be really interesting to say the least. Although there are two possible outcomes for the Coalition, we wouldn't rule out the possibility that Marcus Phoenix will return to the lead role if the creative team decides to make JD's demise canon. There's undoubtedly something to be said about piquing the fan interest in the franchise by having Marcus reprise his role as the protagonist as a furious elderly father out of vengeance. I love this. I love this concept. I love that, hey, could we possibly go back to playing as Marcus? I love it. But once again, I don't and I know we can't change the past here, guys, in terms of the Coalition can't change the past. They decided what to do with Gears of War, with what they did. It would have been really fascinating to me to play as JD Phoenix in Gears 5, and near the end of the game, you as the character are killed. Like, Kate has to decide to kill you or whatever, and save Dell or something of that nature. And then your character dies in it. And then in Gears 6, you end up playing as Marcus, as a, crazy, losing his mind that he lost his son. I can't even imagine what that would feel like. And then reprising that role as him would have just been such an interesting turn of events. And they could go so many different directions with this, obviously, guys. But in my mind, I would have loved to have seen that more than what we got in Gears 5, personally. But we'll have to kind of wait and see. Maybe the Coalition has a number of tricks up their sleeve, and they're going to crush this thing. I really hope they do. But with that being said, guys, in terms of multiplayer, co-op modes, esports, I mean, the list goes on and on. What can we expect, there? Well, really all of that, guys, and all of this is all speculation at this current juncture in time. I think that, in my mind, the way I'm thinking about it is, if you want to have the ultimate Gears of War experience to really bring back this franchise to the forefront, you need to go back to that dark, gritty style that you had back in the original trilogy. Because Gears of War 3, in my mind, is the greatest Gears of War game ever made. I believe it's one of the top 5 greatest games ever made, ever. Like, I absolutely love that game. Just because of all the things, from customization to coming back to the experience over and over again, whether it was Horde mode, whether it was, the campaign, whether it was going for different achievements or different, just the list goes on and on. The multiplayer experience, it was so incredible. That is if you had, the blueprint is right there. And I'm not saying to just copy and paste, but I'm saying that with Gears of War 3, I thought that was something really special. I'll also tell you that Gears of War 4, in my mind, even though I didn't think it was as good as Gears of War 3, I thought they were really onto something with Gears of War 4. Like it felt like we were really ramping something up that was going to be really special. And that's why I think the anticipation for Gears 5 was so high. And then, obviously it's not even being serviced now. So you can see kind of where we've gone, from one extreme to the other. And that's why I think the Coalition's taking their time here. And I'm totally okay with that. I want them to take their time here and to create something that is going to last and gonna build us moving forward. I just want them to make this game the best game possible, not like focus on this game for a year and then it's like, okay, now we're gonna move on to Gears 7. Do I want a Gears of War 6 and a Gears of War 7? Absolutely. But I just want them to crush Gears of War 6 so that we can get a Gears of War 7 somewhere down the road. It doesn't have to happen right away, right? This isn't Call of Duty. I just want them to create an incredible experience with Gears of War 6, build the community, bring, like certain elements from the old games back, right? And start to build this thing, right? I would love to see them bring back Beast Mode. The Gears esports scene, I think it's one of the most fascinating esports in the world. It's like the WWE of esports, in my opinion. And I would love to see it continue. Like, I really want to see that continue as well. But I just don't think you can even think about it until you build a solid foundation once again and bring in a lot of people. And then you slowly build into the esports scene once again. But let me know, guys, what do you think in terms of Gear 6? The things that we know so far, what are you hoping to see here? Let me know. Let's have a real conversation about it. And for more Gears of War 6 content and videos, stay here with zrotv.